Hey guys, I'm doing this video for a guy. Been talking to him about Chaucer stones and stuff like that. He's an Edge Pro user, and he asked me to show how I set the knife on the table and a couple other things. I'm gonna try and answer all of those questions, but I'm also just gonna share with you guys all the little tips and tricks that I've found to help keep consistency with the Edge Pro and get sharper angles, sharper edges. Uh, all this isn't directed at you, dude, so please don't think that I'm like insulting your intelligence if I go over something that you already know, because I have no clue other people's skill levels on the internet. So I'm just going to run through pretty much everything I can think of, hopefully. I know you asked me how I set the blade on the table, and I'm going to try and keep this in frame. Get it? I'm going to zoom in right here just so you can see what I'm doing. With blades like this, where you have a flat spot, aka the ricasso, which is a lot of Spyderco's knives, I actually set the blade on the ricasso. Like, I'm going to do it the other way. Like this. I'm setting the blade on the ricasso right here, and I'm butting this part of the handle up against the table, just like that. And this way, while I'm sharpening, damn, don't need to hit the edge like that. While I'm sharpening, instead of having to move the blade around, I could just keep the blade steady like this on the ricasso, and it doesn't move because the ricasso is a very stable place to put the knife. I can just sharpen all the way out to the edge like this, and if I was doing it this way right here, see how the blade pivots on that part? It's hard to keep your blade stable like that, so you're just kind of always moving around, and movement on the Edge Pro results in a decrease in the quality of the results. When you're setting it on the ricasso and you've butted it up against the handle, the blade does not move. I mean, it stays right there. Say you have a knife that doesn't have the ricasso, I still butt the handle up against the blade. But say you want a certain angle, I'm gonna try and find a way to show this better. Say you want a certain angle on this blade, 36 degrees. Scratch all that. Say you have a knife that you have a flat spot on, say like a hollow grind where you have a flat spot up here, but you have this angle down here, and it's hard to keep it stable. There's a lot of knives like that where you're fishing around for a stable place to put the knife. What I do is just set it on the flat spot and then set my angle and grind what I call a flat spot in the metal, which is just you're grinding a spot at that angle, which you can then mark with a Sharpie and then put it on the secondary part of the bevel, which is the non-flat part of the hollow grind. And then all you have to do is adjust this arm to match that part of the angle that you mark with a Sharpie. And once you've found that angle and you take off all the Sharpie in one stroke, then you know that you're at that angle. So say you set it on the flat spot at 36 degrees and you grind a spot, mark it with Sharpie, then put it where the blade is comfortable and you're not struggling to handle it, and then you just adjust the arm to match that angle, but you still kept that 36-degree angle. That's really hard to explain. I would need some visual cues, like do an actual knife to explain that better. What else do I do? A lot of people, when they have really steeply upswept blades like the Sabenza, they'll actually angle the blade out like that to get the belly and the tip. I don't do that at all. With a Sabenza, I just keep grinding straight just like this, and I never curve the blade out. I found when I do that, the angle changes. So I would rather just keep this steady angle all the way through, and if the bevel widens at the tip, that's fine. I don't care that much. It's never more than a few thou, so it doesn't matter to me. talking about just general sharpening, when I'm on the lower grits, I don't worry about cleaning my burr off. But once I step up to like 1000 grit, I like to do my work on this side, then flip it and do my work on this side and form a burr. And then before I switch to the next stone, I like to do some decreasing strokes, like maybe 5 on this side, flip it, 5 on this side, then flip it, and do maybe 3 on this side, and then 3 on this side, and then I'll flip it and do 1 on this side and 1 on this side, just to clean that burr off and to true that edge up, get it right there and perfect. I don't want to have a big burr on either side like that, because the cleaner you can get the edge at this grit, the sharper it will be at the next grit, if that makes sense. If you've left a really jagged, toothy burred edge at 1000 grit, once you move to 2000 or 3000, yes, it's going to get sharper. But if you had refined the edge on the 1000 grit stone, then moved on, then it's going to be just that much sharper. And that's something I've learned just through use, pretty much. I mean, nobody really taught me that. Trying to think of something else I do. One thing that is extremely helpful if you have an Edge Pro, get this new, it has this circular knob right here. Get this new knob that Ben has. It helps a lot. B, when your stones start wearing and you flatten them and you have different thickness stones, the easiest way to keep your angle consistent is by using one of these collars. And you can get one of these collars at Chef's Knives to go. And what it does, let's say you set your bevel at 36, let's do 42 just for the sake of this video. Okay, I'm going to focus in on this. Hopefully you can see this mark right here, this yellow mark. Say you set the bevel at 42. Okay, say your stones are all different thicknesses like this. I mean, you can see an obvious difference in thickness, and that just happens. If you don't adjust for that thickness when you're sharpening, then your angle is going to be all off. Each time you move to a different stone, the angle is going to be something different depending on the thickness of the stone. Only when the stones are brand new are they all one consistent thickness. Now what you have to do if you didn't have this collar is each time you adjust, you have to mark the edge with Sharpie and adjust your arm manually. With this collar, say you set the bevel with this 120 grit stone, when you're done, you take this collar, you put the stone up under here, and you butt the stone up against this arm right here. You butt the stone up, then you tighten this collar. Okay, when you pull the stone out, you need to tighten it. Okay, from now on, this is no longer your angle guide. This is your angle guide. Say you're done with a 120 grit stone, you need to move on. Well, say you're going to jump to a 320, but the 320 is almost half the thickness of the 120. All you have to do to adjust for the difference in thickness is lift this arm, set your new stone there, butt it up against the arm, and then tighten it down. And what you've done right there is you have taken all the manual input out of adjusting the angle. No longer do you have to mark the edge with Sharpie and adjust this arm. You just use the collar. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the arm is actually setting lower than it was before because this stone is thinner. So let's say you move on. I'm just going to grab the 10K Chaucera. The 10K Chaucera is thicker. All you have to do, lift the arm, set it down, tighten it up. See, the Chaucera is thicker. Now it's covering most of the yellow. And this is the easiest way to get sharp edges on the Edge Pro. Most people don't know that the difference in thickness of the stones, if you're not adjusting for it, is going to give you trouble. It's going to give you so much trouble and you don't even know it. And a lot of people don't know their stones are different thicknesses. They can appear to be the same, but there are subtle changes in the wear rate. They are different, I promise you. And unless you're adjusting for it and unless you're doing it perfectly every time, then you're not keeping your angle consistent. And so you need one of these collars. And they're extremely easy to use. They cost like $2 from Chef's Knives To Go, and they're well worth the money. Trying to think the one other thing I do. I really can't think of anything. When I'm finishing with a really high grit stones, this is one trick that I found that helps. Okay, let's say your angle is here, just right under the 42 degree inclusive. Say I've been working at this setting and now I'm done. I've ran all the way up to the 10K Chaucera. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of a burr left, or sometimes your edge just isn't as sharp as you want it to be. So what I do is I'll keep the Chaucera stone on there, but I'll raise this arm just maybe halfway to the next setting, which you're literally just raising it like 1.5 degrees when you do that. It's literally, each step is 3 degrees, so when you go halfway, you're raising it 1.5 degrees. So you're not really changing the angle at all, but it helps tremendously. I raise the angle halfway to the next stop, and then I'll do pull strokes, which is not pushing into the edge. It's almost just like stropping with a stone. So you're raising your angle just by 1.5 degrees, and you're stropping the edge with the stone. You pull stroke, lift, come back, pull stroke, lift, come back, pull stroke. And I found that results in a much sharper edge. It just pretty much guarantees that you're hitting the very apex of the edge and not the back bevel, because sometimes that does happen, even with the Edge Pro. I mean, sometimes it just happens. So by increasing the angle just a hair, you're guaranteeing that you're hitting the apex of the edge, and by doing nothing but pull strokes, you're really refining that edge out. And that's how I get my TP slicing edges straight off the stones without using the strop at all. So anyway, this ran on a little bit longer than I wanted it to. Hope I showed how I hold the knives. Just plant it on the ricasso, and if it doesn't have a flat spot, then you grind your angle and then you lay it on the actual angled part of the blade and go from there. I hope this was coherent. It's hard to explain some of the stuff on the Edge Pro without actually being in the process of sharpening, so I may do that one day. But anyway, I hope this helps you, man, and anybody else that just got the Edge Pro or has been using the Edge Pro, I hope this helps y'all too. But anyway, I don't want to make this run on forever, so I'm going to stop it here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.